anything that takes money from your pocket is considered a liability. And an asset, on the other hand, is anything that puts money in your pocket. And unfortunately, most people tend to get into debt buying liabilities that might not even be useful by the time they pay off that debt. Sometimes they're throwing out things before the debt is repaid.
Like, subscribe, and share to Voices of Linden TV.
Hello, lovely folks. Welcome to another Money Minute episode. I'm Ingrid B. Clayton. Today I'm going to be talking to you about asset versus liability and your net worth. Now, before I get into the difference between an asset and a liability, here's a little story that helped me to understand the word liability from a tender age. I used to hear the word liability when I was growing up a lot. My grandpa was a farmer who had crops in multiple locations. In Jamaica, we would call those fields. So my grandpa had fields with coconut, pimento, sugarcane, yam, bananas, plantain, cocoa plants, and much more. And unfortunately, some people had absolutely no regards for other people's possessions or other people's property. So they would just go into my grandpa's fields and they would help themselves. They would help themselves to whatever they wanted. They never asked. And my grandpa was such a kind person. All you had to do was ask. He was always given. So frequently I would hear him saying, "Those thieves are a liability to me. And if I ever catch them, I would put my cutlass to good use." And you might be wondering, what is cutlass? Well, cutlass was how my grandpa called machete, right? So basically he was saying, I would put my machete to good use. And I used to find it super funny because my grandpa was such a calm and easygoing person. Nothing ever seemed to faze him, except those notorious thieves, of course. So I couldn't imagine him harming anyone. But I learned a big lesson from what he used to say, because while I didn't know the sophisticated meaning of the word liability back then, I fully understood that my grandpa meant that the thieves were reducing what he would be able to harvest and thus it impacting his profits, right? So if he was selling things, means that he would get less money. So sophisticated or not, that is essentially the meaning of liability, something that takes money away from you, or put simply, anything that takes money from your pocket is considered a liability. And an asset, on the other hand, is anything that puts money in your pocket. And unfortunately, most people tend to get into debt buying liabilities that might not even be useful by the time they pay off that debt. Sometimes they're throwing out things before the debt is repaid. And if they were using that debt to acquire assets that put money in their pockets, that would be much better. And then they would be much better off, right? And this is why you have good debt and bad debt. Good debt is used to buy growing assets, assets that will grow and appreciate and increase in value, while bad debt is used to buy decaying liabilities. Liabilities, anything that depreciates, right? Anything that loses its value is considered a liability. But the more liabilities you have, the lower your net worth. And what is net worth? Well, your net worth is your total assets minus your total liabilities. So the higher your assets and the lower your liabilities, the greater your net worth. And you should always aim for high net worth, right? Because then you're better off. A lot of people view their homes, for example, as their biggest asset. But what they don't realize is that it is also their greatest liability. Why, you may be asking that? Well, the mortgage, the property tax, the insurance, appliances, maintenance costs, all of those things take money away from you, right? So they're taking money out of your pocket, and that is why your home is considered a liability, right? Some people even tend to refinance their homes and roll their bad debt into the mortgage, not realizing that when they do that, it makes their home an even bigger liability, right? Because the mortgage becomes higher, so the key thing here is that you should aim to acquire growing assets while simultaneously reduce your liabilities. Doing this will definitely increase your net worth. And you want to have as high net worth as possible. Okay, so this is where I will leave you today. Until next time, do what good.